Welcome to Synergy Bonus. Already I'm in. I'm Vigo. This is Spoonie and Thrict.
Please send help. They've kidnapped me.
We've been drinking a little bit too much before we even started recording tonight.
This evening we are hitting the Tullamore Dew, a little break from the beer tradition, and Aquavit from
Aquavit.
Aquavit.
If you love licorice, that is fantastic, by the way.
If you're a normal person, it's tolerable.
It's Scandinavian schnapps.
Good for drinking games, by the way.
Its name
Dangerous.
comes from
Dangerous.
actually the Latin name for whiskey. Aquavite.
Water of
Aquavit.
life. Yep. No. This is the water of life.
That's only because we didn't give you the good recipes when we gave you mead.
You mean you guys?
That's exactly what he means.
We're both blockheads. What do you...
Yeah, but you're French.
Yeah.
Anyways, tonight we're going to be talking about the original Megaman to continue with our Megaman theme. We said we were going to give it its time in the sun, and we've decided that's today.
Because Capcom won't.
Oh. He's not wrong.
He really isn't.
Right.
However, before we even started filming this, the last time it was released was in January of this year, 2017. The first time it was released on the...
Last time it was released on your cell phone as a handheld game, and we'll talk about that at some point, I'm sure.
No,
we won't talk about
the
that.
most we're going to talk about it is later on here, and yeah.
That thing was an abortion.
Anyways, it originally came out in 1987, and it paved the way for a wonderful, wonderful series that, as a group, we love. We really do.
Several wonderful series, actually, if you think about it.
Yeah, because it spawned the X, the ZX, the
ZX
Advent,
Legends, Command Mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just all over the board.
It really did.
The one that the Net Warrior cartoon was based off.
Oh, yeah, Mega Man Battle Network.
Battle Network, Star Force.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I mean...
It's a 2D action platformer for the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Famicom in Japan. I'm pronouncing that right?
Yeah,
Famicom.
Stands for Family Computer.
Because
I
it's
learned
based off
something.
how the MSX model was beforehand, where it was actually a computer first and then a gaming system after.
Mm-hmm.
Consoles really weren't a major thing aside the Intellivision and the ColecoVision.
As is usual, Nintendo was ahead of the time.
Mm-hmm. Mega Man is a very, very colorful game. It's always been a colorful game, and I think that's one of the charms that it
The
has.
first one's a little darker than most. It has its roots in anime. If you look at like the character art and the concept art and the storyline, and if you look at what's really going on, it's a pretty dark kind of story. But at the same time, it's bright and colorful and fun to look at. You know, Mega Man is this bright shade of blue that you don't see often anymore.
Very reminiscent of, what was it, Robot Boy?
Astro Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, very a live inspiration drawn from Astro Boy, which was hugely popular at the time.
It was the first actual anime, too.
Yeah. We're not really going to touch on the story here. Trav touched on it the last episode. A mad scientist stole his partner's 6 robots that were what do you call those?
Utilitarian.
Utility robots, and attempted to take over the world. And Mega Man, or Rock, gets transformed into a super fighting robot Mega Man to go take out Dr.Wily.
Goku voices it.
Different. Okay. Anyway,
There was the American cartoon, and we don't.
I love that.
There's nothing to love. I have a de-evolution ray that turns robots into cave bots. What? Do you know how robotics work?
It could have been worse. It could have been Street Fighter, the cartoon show, or Darkstalkers.
If you're de-evolving a robot, it doesn't turn into a cave bot. It turns into a toaster.
A sentient toaster that wants to kill you. So, we're Fallout New Vegas.
Or Ghostbusters when they put the slime in it.
I went to Brave Little Toaster, but okay.
We're all over the board on this.
When aren't we?
Another pro to this game is, it had tight control. It really did.
Particularly for something that was a port from originally an arcade cabinet to a home console system. It was phenomenally tight controls. The Mega Man is always right on point. He's where you want to be. If there is an issue and you're taking hits or falling off a platform,
it's your fault.
It's your fault. The error is in the chair, not in the computer.
And that's something that's kind of stuck throughout the entire series, and I'm glad for it. This is one of the only games where you get to see Rock as his normal boy self, as a sprite. In Mega Man 4, it kind of goes over the conversion aspect of it again, but it's not a sprite form, it's just...
7's got the no helmet section.
No helmet, yeah. And even Mega Man 2 has that at the start screen. And you actually get to see Roll and Dr.Light in sprite format. They're mentioned in the instruction booklet. You don't see them in game until the very end at the end credits.
I think it's like the only time you see Roll in game until like 5 or 6 at that point.
5 because Proto Man had just kidnapped.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember if she shows up at the end of 4 when you rescue Kamika.
At the end credits.
Yeah.
At the end credits, when Mega Man gets off the train, he jumps off and then Roll and Rush are there.
Right.
So,
but again,
she plays a bigger part
later on.
in 8, 9, and 10. So
Battle and Chase.
yeah, Battle and Chase is its own thing.
His own monster.
For as nice as this game is, it has a lot of problems though too.
It depends how you define a problem. Like the big con that everybody talks about is this is the game that came up with the definition of Nintendo hard.
One of the games. There's a few games that has.
This game is
hard.
ridiculously hard because
is.
again, it was originally for an arcade cabinet, so it's intended for you to keep sticking quarters in the slot.
It's the only Mega Man to have a point system because of that. In future installments of Mega Man, when he falls down a pit, it goes to a slightly loading screen, I will call it, a transition, and you have a split second to move. I actually mentioned this in Mighty Number 9 because it doesn't have it. Mm-hmm. This doesn't have it either, but like when you drop, I'm thinking Gutsman Stage in particular, there's 3 chutes, and like 2 of them have spikes down there. So when you pick a chute and you drop, you fall like a rock.
Yeah, like a rock man?
Like a rock man. And you die. You really do. There's also no invincibility period, so if you take a hit and happen to fall on the spikes, you're dead anyways. Future installments, that you have a split second to jump
Mercy
off.
invincibility.
These aren't necessarily cons, but they do increase the difficulty of the game.
Mm-hmm. And a difficult game can be a fun game. There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, yeah. And this is a very fun game, don't get us wrong.
The music really isn't memorable. There's some stuff
it's good, but it's not something you're going to catch yourself humming the next day.
I get the feeling that right after that game came out, they fired that sound guy.
Maybe they did. I
think it's the same composer that did 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay, then he stepped up his better.
Well, again, limits of the technology at the time.
Because Capcom, especially on the NES, has that sound, and it's a great sound, and I love it. All their games at the time just...
This kind of sounds like a Sega Genesis game.
Not even. Sega Genesis is its own.
I think that's just a blow against Sega Genesis.
Oh,
maybe the Master System.
Later on, I'm going to have to revisit the Wily Wars, which had Mega Man 1, 2, and 3 on it, which was Mega Man on the Sega Genesis. So that music in the Sega sound...
Terrible. Rightfully terrible.
Or painful.
Sega, we love you. You gave us a lot of good memories, but we played with the Muton.
Your sound chip system
depended on the game. If it was a good game, usually the sound didn't hamper it.
Like Sonic.
Or Rocket Knight, or stuff like that. I'm thinking of, this terrible game. It's called The Ooze. And it's just, the music is just bad. Even Comic Zone, as catchy as the music is, it has that Sega quality, and it's just not good.
Shadowrun for the Genesis. It's catchy, it's earwormy, it sucks.
But Mega Man didn't sound like that, despite what one of you said. I don't remember. Power-ups are far and few between. They're there, but you don't see a whole lot of them. In one of the Wily stages, there's this weird pinwheel power
It
up.
actually has a name.
But when you collect it, it refills everything. It was basically your M tank before M tanks were a thing.
But it's also a trap because you have to jump over all these little pits with spikes to get to it.
But if you had the beam weapon to create a platform, it shouldn't be
You
an issue.
remember to grab the beam weapon from Electman stage. Which brings me to another interesting point. Mega Man 1, you could go back into the stages after you'd beaten the bosses.
Yes, you couldn't do that
again
until 4.
4, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because 4 reintroduced the idea that, hey, you might have missed this item
Yes,
to help you out.
because 4 had the wire and the balloon.
I never figured out how to use the wire.
You press up and you hit the button and he shoots the wire up.
Yeah,
That's it.
I never found a use for the wire.
There's a few stages
Yeah.
that there is, but
They could have done more with it.
they could. You never see Wily's castle. It's always alluded to Wily's castle. You never see it. There's no graphic of it at all, so it's just
treats it like any other stage. Even musically, like the Wily music is no different from anything we've
It's
heard.
not. It's not memorable. None of the music is really memorable, except for the final boss music. Well, actually, the Yellow Devil and actually the entire Wily stage that has all the same battle music. But that's the only real memorable stuff to it. Mm-hmm. And you were touching on Mega Man's hitbox.
Mega Man's hitbox is a little different, it's a little larger in this game. Goes back to it being a little bit more difficult because it was made to munch through your quarters. In a lot of the later games, especially if you're playing on normal mode or easy mode for Americans who are bad gamers, there's a slightly smaller hitbox, so you have a little bit better ability to dodge. It's very subtle, but it makes a huge difference in the overall play of the game and the level of difficulty.
Mm-hmm. With that hitbox, the enemy damage codes, Mega Man takes a ton of damage.
Well, sure, if you get hit.
If you get hit. And believe me, there are times where you are going to get hit. I'm thinking Gutsman stage with Electman stage. Gutsman stage with the little workers there.
There's
a couple areas.
Pickaxe workers?
There's a couple.
You just have to know where to stand.
There's a couple areas.
It can make sense from a chronological standpoint when you consider he's never fought before.
True.
So, first of all, he doesn't know how to get the heck out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he just got converted, so he's still probably being based off Proto Man's design, which is highly unstable.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why in games where Proto Man shows up, he takes damage like a bitch.
Well, that's just to reflect his broken reactor core.
Yeah, well, he's unstable.
The one enemy in particular I'm thinking of is this one-eyed thing with a pogo. I don't know what they're called.
Sniper Joe on a pogo stick?
No. They're big enemies.
Oh, okay.
It's the large jumping.
Each game has kind of a few.
Each game has a variant on it. This is the original. And it actually has 2 eyes. It's just the way the sprite turns.
Mega Man can only take 3 hits from it. It takes most of your life out if it touches
But
you.
it has a very simple pattern of small hop, big hop,
which
small
they
hop, small
recycle
hop,
from
big
their
hop.
enemies.
And
There are some areas though where it's hard to avoid that. But
you know what you do then? Use a utility power like the ice slash or the freezing.
Use utility powers.
Yeah.
Oh, I just thought of this. This is the only Mega Man 2 where you can die in the loading time between boss fights.
Okay.
There are little enemies in there. I mean, they're easily avoidable,
What
but
he
it's
means is
potential.
there's a traditional thing with the Mega Man series that they kind of get away from.
A gate.
Yeah. You kind of get away from it in some of the later, like Mega Man X, Mega Man Zero stuff.
No, they're still there.
Yeah.
Mega Man 01, like Aztec or Falcon, you jump right into the garbage.
Right.
There's a couple of bosses where every once
But
in a while.
when you get to the end of the stage and you're at the boss's room, there's a gate, and then there's a small walkway, which is where you will start over if you are killed by the boss, and then there's another gate, and there's boss room. And this is the only game in the series where, during that walkway between the gates, there are enemies and traps to have to be avoided.
Yeah.
Get those extra coins.
This game also had a cheat to it where you could hit select, and if you happen to damage the enemy and you kept your shot on it, the enemy's sprite flicker would disappear, and if you hit select and hit it again real quick, the shot would barely move and it would take more damage.
Select or start? It was the pause button.
Select. The start would bring up your item. Select actually paused the game. This was almost essential to beat the Yellow Devil and Dr. Wily. Not so much on Dr. Wily, but the Devil itself it's rough without it, and
Well, it's rough without it for two reasons. The first one is because of his lack of vulnerability in the tiny little hitbox. Which
well, he's vulnerable to the elect shot, but you'll run out of elect shot far before you.
Very energy inefficient. That was my
Jesus
second point. Yeah, it's a wonderful weapon, but its energy efficiency is abysmal.
High top spin.
Yeah.
No, topspin is not a wonderful weapon.
No,
Yeah.
but energy inefficient.
Yeah.
The nice part about the elect shot is it goes in three ways, and it's a
Makes
large
noise.
it's a large
Wavy beam.
wave beam, so that select ability can make up for the energy thing. I mean, you can do it with any weapon. It's just harder. Like I've tried it before.
I've done it with the rolling cutter.
I've done it with the ice slasher against Fireman actually.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and it's
You know where it's really useful?
Bomb Man or Gutsman. 2 hits with Bomb Man's that he just dies.
That too.
So
I was gonna say the mega clones when you're using Fireman's power.
yeah. The Mega Clones in this one's kind of rough because when you switch abilities, he switches abilities too. Any other iterations of them, they all use the regular shot, which just kind of converge on you. I'm thinking Mega Man 3.
Which is why the fire, or in addition to damaging slightly more, the fire shot becomes important because it gives you a little shield, which absorbs a chunk of their shots.
Like, it's not a bad game by any means, but it's, of the Mega Man games on the regular Nintendo, it's, oh my god, again, your shame is just living online. You always do this, and I always forget everything I'm going to say. I guess it's my least played Mega Man of the original 6 on the regular Nintendo.
Partially because it was a really rare cartridge.
It was. It was actually one of the
hard to
last
find.
Mega Man cartridges I got on the NES. 2, 3. I didn't get number 1 until maybe about 8, 9 years ago.
Are we going to comment on the notorious bad box art?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, as Greg has ably demonstrated. At the time period in the 80s, America was going through this weird phase of we don't want anything to do with anything anime.
American Kirby is hardcore.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember those commercials. And you'll see this in things like if you caught the first anime to come to the United States, it wasn't actually Astro Boy, it was Voltron. But they made a concentrated effort to cut out all of the anime-esque stuff, the sweat drops, the heart eyes, the anything that you would immediately associate with an anime. They were doing this with video game box covers too.
River City Ransom.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a very prime example. To a lesser extent, Double Dragon. Mega Man caught this in the worst possible way. And we're gonna, I'm sure, have a little pop up here in a minute.
Or here, or wherever we decide to put.
There it is. Anyhow, as you can see, he's in these bright blue and yellow jumpsuit that looks like he's the fat guy cosplaying at a Tron convention.
It almost looks like pajamas.
A little bit, yeah.
Shazam.
That's a different episode.
It is a different episode.
Okay.
But Capcom's like,
he's got a pistol in his hand.
He does.
And,
He also has a pistol in Mega Man 2's cover as well.
But it's better
a
artwork.
little bit better.
and it's atrocious. It's kind of got this weird neon city in the background that's a throwback that you kind of see elements of Bomb Man stage and Iceman stage. But man, is it terrible.
And Capcom's like, fans don't like Mega Man. We would really like to see Mega Man another fighting game. All right.
Here's
and,
Fat Mega Man.
In Street Fighter Cross Tekken, or Capcom Cross Tekken, here's Mega Man. Bad box art Mega Man.
That's literally what they call him.
He is a fat, overweight guy who's like, I am a Mega Man. I don't even remember. I played it once in like this game.
He's the Dan Hibiki of the game. He's worthless and a joke.
He is. But like Capcom later on,
with Dan Hibiki, if you know how to use him, he can become slightly less of a joke.
Yeah, I know.
Capcom kind of rolled with this art style again for Mega Man in 9 and 10, and I like it.
At least in Mega Man 9 and 10, he's
kind of badass looking.
Yeah.
It's also just referencing poking fun at
it. Really
They
is.
make Proto Man kind of look like Lord Zed. It's neat.
I like that, actually. I really do.
He's doing his Breakman outfit.
Yeah. It's a fun game. If you've never played it and you're glutton for punishment,
there are all kinds of ROMs. There are all kinds of legacy anniversary editions.
You can find it just about on any system. I would not recommend playing it on a mobile device. This is the only time we're going to touch on the mobile device, and it's going to be right now, and then we're we're probably going to reference again. What am I talking
We're going
about?
to talk about it again.
We won't let you
serious.
forget it exists.
Mobile games and mobile games are just terrible in general. And with Mega Man, where you have to be...
I'm going to put an asterisk next to that.
Some of them.
Go ahead.
With Mega Man in particular, everything has to be just so. Everything has to be spot on. The lack of an actual feel of a D-pad and the buttons, it makes for a bad time. And like this particular port of it was just off and awful. And we mentioned that in Mighty Number 9.
Any game that is action-based, that requires reflexes and so on, you can't do in a handheld game. It just doesn't work because there's no feedback. You hover over the screen rather than resting on it, which adds to your reaction time, and it just makes the games unplayable and frustrating and leads to broken phones. That said, for games that don't require timing and muscle memory and precision
Final
and
Fantasy ports.
Final Fantasy ports, the Fire Emblem port
I'm
we
going
were
to
just talking
asterisk.
about.
I'm going to asterisk that.
It tends to work out fairly well. Candy Crush, things where
Record Keeper.
Puzzle games, tactical games, anything where you're just hitting a button in a menu.
sliding stuff around on the top.
I recently bought the original Dragon Quest on my Kindle. I'm like, okay, it's an RPG on a touchscreen. It should be no problem. It's miserable. It is so miserable. The not feeling the button, and it's just very slow paced because of it. It's not intuitive. It doesn't feel good at all, and I just kind of put it down. And I feel like I wasted $2.99.
Seem to really be focusing on the fact that video games are a visual medium, and they are, but they're more than that. There's the audio part. For as much as we pick on like Sega and so on, if even bad music is better than no music.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't believe us, play a video game with the sound turned off and no music anywhere else playing in the background for a while. It's weird.
It really is.
Or depending on the game, it can get really scary.
Yeah, but it's also a tactile experience. The feel of the buttons and the feedback from when you push a button and something reacts is just as important to the experience and how the game is played and how the character moves and reacts as everything else. And this is getting grossly overlooked in the age of cell phones and touchscreens and Wii pads and freaking PlayStation 4 controller with that weird pad.
Right.
Although that's one of the least offenders because it does at least have the texture on it.
Right.
And also the Vito with the backdrop.
Yep, the back
with
touch.
the back touch, yep.
At least with, I'm going to say this, with...
Or the shake two sticks of the screen.
With the...
Like there's no resistance there until you get to the end of the cord.
With the PlayStation 4 controller, with the Xbox controller, with the new Switch controller with the Joy-Cons, and even with the Pro controller and their HD Rumble, that tactile feedback is nice. When you take that away, we're in the age where when you shoot a gun, you feel the gunshot. It adds to the experience, but it doesn't take away.
It doesn't mean that the Rumble pack in your PlayStation 4 controller should be strong enough to have actual kick. Although that would be awesome.
It would.
Third party, get on that.
Goodbye battery life.
Goodbye battery life, and I can see it. Well, what happened? Well, the controller shot out of my hand.
What happened? Well, I was firing the Desert Eagle, the new Call of Duty game. The controller flew out of my hands and hit me in the face. Yeah. Obviously, you haven't shot a Desert Eagle before.
What did he do? He climbed up on the back of the Jeep and had the minigun.
But I agree. It really is a tactile experience, and you lose that on a touch screen.
That's why I wish they'd get more like there were some of those demo fighting games where they had vests and sleeves and stuff where you would feel the impact when you took a hit. Roll with that. That's a better idea than here's a bland touchscreen with no feedback whatsoever beyond the feeling of smooth glass.
Oh wait, I got some food on there.
Okay. That just ruined my high score. Thanks.
As far as Mega Man goes, the original it plays very well. There's little nitpicks, but it's not a bad experience. Go for it. It's Mega Man. Like there are deals on Mega Man on pretty much every digital format.
Right up until Capcom says Mega Man not.
Capcom, please just get your act together. We used to love you so much.
Or don't.
And let Yacht Club take Mega Man from you.
I was going to go say...
Not take, buy.
Or don't. Just continue to fail and let someone else just buy up all your IPs and work with.
No, because if that happens, it's going to be someone like Microsoft, and it's going to be Rare all over again.
No, true. Or Konami will get their hands on it, but that's its own evil.
And with that, we'll see you later.
I think we're out. Good night and good gaming.